Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you the books that I ended up reading in the month of April and all the books that I hope to get to in May. So I was kind of all over in terms of genre this month, which is always fun. And I finally got to a book that's been on my TBR for many months. So I feel very proud of myself about that. So without further ado, let's get started. First up I have It's in His Kiss by Julia Quinn, and this follows Hyacinth and her love story. I've just been slowly working my way through the Bridgerton series, and this is the second to last one, so I'll probably be finishing this core series this summer, which is really exciting. But basically this follows Hyacinth and her love story with someone who kind of is, again, I feel like all of them are kind of like a bad boy, but this one involves someone whose father is very abusive towards him, and there is kind of this mystery involving his family, his grandmother's diary, which is in Italian, and then also kind of mystery jewels, I guess. This one I did appreciate kind of the different setting in terms of this one, with having the family mystery and uncovering kind of what happened to these grandmothers, jewels. I found to be really interesting. I did really like that part, but this one, again, they're all kind of very formulaic, and if I just need a little bit of break from reading something that is a little bit easier to read, I definitely go towards this one. I'm just looking at my notes here, but I definitely did enjoy seeing more of Hyacinth. I felt like we kind of get little snippets of her, but I feel like what I really love most about Bridgerton, and I do prefer the TV show over the books in this case, is the ensemble cast. And I feel like as the more of the Bridgerton kids have gotten married, we see less of them, so that's why these aren't my favorite, but they're just kind of a nice palate cleanser when I need something easy to read. So there is that as well. And I wanted more of the side characters, and there was nothing really special to this one, so I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. They're just kind of fun reads that I don't really take too seriously, so yeah, they were just fine. Next, I ended up listening to the audiobooks for A Spindle Splintered and A Mirror Mended by Alix and Harrow. I was just kind of looking through on the Libby app to see which would be kind of short books to read, and these I believe are kind of short story novella type books, and I was I've just been a little bit there hasn't been a lot of new music releases recently, so I've been going into podcasts and other things when I'm driving to and from work, just to keep my brain engaged with those things. So I picked these up and I was really disappointed. They're kind of loose fairy tale retellings where we follow our main character who has this terminal disease, and that is very much her defining characteristic, is that she is dying from this terminal disease, and she's kind of very much pushing people away because she doesn't want them to be too attached to her when she inevitably passes away. And basically she has always really loved Sleeping Beauty and the fairy tale of that, and so on her birthday, as a joke, pokes her finger on a spindle, and it transports her to kind of another dimension of our world, but a fairy tale world, and it kind of goes off from there. This one, like I said, had a very interesting premise, but the writing of this one was very strange. I first thought it was YA, just with how juvenile the writing style was, and it was very kind of, so this is me. Well, you're probably wondering how I got in this situation, that type of narration style, which I don't necessarily like in books, and it just felt very juvenile. And then there's throwing in swear words and talking about other type of things that aren't necessarily YA, so it did throw me through a loop, because it had a very juvenile writing style and narration style, and just the dialogue of the characters was very juvenile, but it also kind of integrated a lot of adult topics. So this is definitely kind of more, I would say, teen to adult demographic, so that part was weird. But I just found the main character to be incredibly annoying. She was there's not a lot of progress in terms of her character development between even the first book and the second book, so that was really annoying. There are aspects of this that I did enjoy that were interesting, and fairy tale dimensions and all that thing was there were interesting premises, but I just wasn't a fan of the execution. I didn't like the characters. It was just not my favorite. So I gave the first one, what did I give it, 1.5, and I gave the second one a 1 out of 5 stars. So I would just skip this one. They were not even entertaining while driving, so not a fan. And I really loved her The Once and Future Witches, and this series was just not great. Next, I'm so proud to say I finally finished The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, the first book in the Sorcier trilogy, and I get the hype now. I get the hype. I will say it kind of took me a little bit to kind of get through the first 100 pages or so, but after that I was really kind of hooked. This follows Fitz, who is the kind of bastard son of the king in waiting, and he ends up getting, dropped off at the palace doorsteps, being the family doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. So he gets taken in by the palace, where he eventually gets trained to be the assassin for the king, and it kind of goes off from there. This one, there's a lot of political intrigue. There is kind of a this one I would say is very much kind of focused within the keep, the palace itself, in terms of the interpersonal relationships with a lot of the characters, and kind of really setting up, I feel like, what this trilogy is going to be too, because there is this external force that is kind of wreaking havoc within the kingdom, and you can see that's definitely going to play a part in future books. But this one was really kind of setting up Fitz, his relationship, his role, who he is, and I really loved kind of seeing him grow over the course of the book. Like I said, the first 100 pages it was really hard to kind of get into, because I felt like there really wasn't a lot of progress or anything like that. But once the plot starts to pick up and Fitz kind of starts his assassin training, that's where it really got in, and the last 100 pages were so spectacular. I was like, okay, I get the hype now. I couldn't put it down, and I was like, I need to finish this. And so I get the hype. So definitely will be continuing on with this series. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I see the potential. I got the hype. I really was invested for especially kind of that last little chunk there. But the first part, there was definitely some pacing issues. So, but definitely really excited to see. I know we follow this character over kind of many decades of his life, so I'm definitely excited to see where it happened. And I felt like the book ended on such a big kind of reveal that I'm really excited to see what happens next. I will say, if you have a hard time with dogs dying and forming a relationship with dogs and them dying, that's just something to be aware, because I do find that especially after having Tucker having to put him down back in October, that still gets me in my heart a little bit. So just be aware of that, but definitely will be continuing on with the series. Like I said, I'm just looking at my notes. But yeah, really watched it. I like the mystery and secrets of this, and definitely that ending was great. So definitely will be continuing on with this series kind of throughout the year. And lastly, I ended up picking up Half a Soul and kind of the short story that's at the end of here, which is The Lord Sorcier by Olivia Atwater. This is one that I've heard really great things about, and I would say it has a 4.0 rating on Goodreads, and I think that is a little bit too generous, but I still kind of enjoyed aspects of it. This follows Dora, who when she was younger, her kind of mother sold her off to a fairy, or a fae creature, and so he comes to collect her, but she ends up getting rescued by her cousin. So this kind of fairy has only taken half her soul, and so she is kind of her cousin, who's really involved in her life and really loves her, wants her to go to see the Lord Sorcier in London, who might be able to help kind of reunite her soul and kind of make her whole again. This kind of takes it kind of has little elements of Bridgerton, where they're in the town, they are looking for husbands and those type of things. So I did really like kind of that twist with the fairy tale setting, but also kind of that Bridgerton Regency era type style and kind of character interrelations. I thought was really interesting. It's not as steamy. I would say this is very much kind of, I would say it skews YA. I would say it's not necessarily too spicy, which is not a bad thing. I did really love certain aspects of this. I really enjoyed the beginning, and Dora losing half her soul and trying to kind of get that back in her relationship with the Lord Sorcier, who's very much kind of grumbly, and he eventually kind of warms up to her. But there's also this mystery of these kids that are in these workhouses that are kind of going into this sleep, and what's going on and all those things, and Dora's personal growth throughout the story I really enjoyed. But I did feel there were some pacing issues. This book is fairly short. The actual book itself is like for 240 pages, so it was fairly short, but I did feel like part of it did drag on in the middle, where I felt like the beginning was really good and then it just really slowed down for a bit, a lot with like the courting and going to these workhouses to look at these kids, and so there was just like some pacing issues that were a little bit slow, and there was definitely things like I was like, okay, I like guessed what the big twist was going to be that I think are kind of very tropey and very obvious, so that kind of took away from my enjoyment. And the ending was resolved so quickly, it was just like over within like, you know, 20-ish pages, very like easily solved, so I was a little bit disappointed with that, but it was still like a fun read. Like I said, I love the setting and all that, and so I gave this book in particular a 3 out of 5 stars. And then Lord Sorcier, which is kind of a prequel to how Lord Sorcier became the Lord Sorcier, so it was fine. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. Like I don't think it really adds too much of this character. I think like they kind of address what happens in it, and this book in particular, so I don't think it's a really necessary read, but it was at the end of this book, so I was like, might as well, because but it doesn't really add much, so like I said, I don't think you really need it. I think I will continue on with this series, maybe just get them as library ebooks and kind of go from there, because like I said, I don't think they were like that. They were fun, and like they're kind of like how I view Bridgerton, as like a light, easy palate cleanser, but there were nothing like special about this one. It was like a fun read, but nothing, you know, special. And lastly, these are the books that I plan on reading in May. There are a few library like holds that I think will be coming in as well, but I won't mention them here just in case they do, you know, take longer to come. But those I'm anticipating to come throughout this month as well. So these are ones that I would like try to get to in amongst the library holds coming in. First up is just a continuation of last month, which is The Beautiful Ones. I have not decided if I will read it this month or if I will hold on to read this when we go on our family vacation in August, because we'll be at the beach and the pool and those things, and I feel like this is just kind of a beachy read, but you've heard me talk about this for many months, so I won't go into it, but these are definitely the next kind of free books that you haven't heard me talk about yet. First up, I have The Winemaker's Wife by Kristin Harmel. This one is a World War II historical fiction. So it says Champagne, 1940. At the dawn of the Second World War, Inez is the young wife of Michael, owner of the Maison Chevaux champagne house near Reims. I'm not really good at French, so I apologize, France. It should have been an idyllic life, but Inez, who's often treated like a child by her husband, his head winemaker Theo, and Theo's wife Celine, is increasingly happy. And then the Germans arrive. Celine feels as lost as Inez does, but they don't have much else in common. And when rash decisions destroy the fragile connection between them, their lives and the lives of those they loved are in peril, along with the champagne house they've worked so hard to save. New York, 2019. Recently divorced Liv is at rock bottom when her French grandmother shows up unannounced, insisting they leave on a flight to Paris. But when the older woman has an ulterior motive and a decades-old story to share, when past and present intertwine at last, Liv may finally find a way forward along a difficult road that leads straight to the caves of the Maison Chevaux. I've read her, what is the book? Book of Lost Names, which I didn't like love, but I do want to give her another try. I haven't read like a lot of historical fiction. I used to read a lot of World War II historical fiction, like dual storyline books, and I've kind of fallen off of that, so this is one that I thought would just be, you know, a fun read to try to see. Kind of hopefully I do like it more than I did her other books, so we'll see how this one goes. Next up, I do have a historical fiction, but I think this one's like a little bit different, and it is The Life She Was Given by Ellen Marie Wiseman. I've read a lot of her other books and I really have enjoyed them, so this is one that I've had on my shelf for a while, and the only one of hers that I own that I haven't read yet, so I'm definitely interested in going into this one, but I feel like it will be like her other books, probably, you know, heart-wrenching, so I'm just expected to kind of feel sad about it. But it says, on a summer evening in 1931, Lily glimpses circus lights from the grimy window of her attic bedroom. Lily isn't allowed to explore the meadows around Blackwood Manor. She's never even ventured beyond her narrow room. Mama insists it's for Lily's own protection, that people would be afraid if they saw her, but on this unforgettable night, Lily is taken outside for the first time and sold to the circus sideshow. More than 2 decades later, 19-year-old Julia has inherited her parents' estate and horse farm. For Julia, home was an unhappy place full of strict rules and forbidden brooms, and she hopes that returning might erase those painful memories. Instead, she becomes immersed in a mystery involving a hidden attic room and photos of circus scenes featuring a striking young girl. At first, the Barlow Brothers Circus is just another prison for Lily, but in this ragtag, sometimes brutal world, Lily discovers strength, friendship, and a rare affinity for animals. Soon, thanks to elephants, Pepper and Jojo, and their handler Cole, Lily is no longer a sideshow spectacle, but the circus's biggest attraction until tragedy and cruelty collide. It will fall to Julia to learn the truth about Lily's faith and her family's shocking betrayal, and find a way to make Blackwood Manor into a place of healing at last. So I think this kind of bounces back between the two perspectives, which she's done before, so I'm really excited to see how this goes, and I do think the circus setting sounds just really interesting. And lastly, this is one I haven't decided if this is just like a spring summer book or a kind of fall read, so I have not decided yet, but it is Spells for Beginning by Adrienne Young. This one just seems really intriguing. I've heard it kind of has like Stars Hollow, like small town feel vibes, which is intriguing. So like I said, I don't know if that's because of that like Gilmore Girls reference. I feel like it's a fall read. I don't know, but it says, Emery's life changed forever the night her best friend was found dead, and the love of her life, August, was accused of murdering her. Years later, she's doing what her teenage self swore she never would, living a quiet existence in the misty remote shores of Sorcier Island and running the family's business, Blackwood Tea Shop, herbal tonics and tea leaf reading. But when the island, rooted in folklore and magic, begins to show signs of strange happenings, Emery knows that something is coming. The morning she wakes to find that every single tree on Sorcia has turned color in this single night. August returns for the first time in 14 years and unearths the past that the town has tried desperately to forget. So this one again seems really interesting. I do kind of love the magical realism aspect in here as well, and I've heard like pretty good things about this one. So I haven't decided, is this like a spring read or a fall read? We will see. So I don't know if I will get to this one just because with my library holds coming in, so we'll see, but still definitely have this one on my radar. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what some of the books you read in April and which ones you plan to read in May, all that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.